Alright YouTubes, how are you all doing? I hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is just going to be a quick little painting video. So I'll give you a quick look at what I'm painting. So it's a bumper off of a Audi A7 S-Line. It was nothing major. It had a little bit of a scuff and a scrape round here, and then the usual stone chips and stuff all over it. But yeah, it was all together and wasn't in too bad a condition. All original paint on there by the looks of it. So yeah, all we had to do was sand out that scuff. Sanded right out of the plastic, so it was finished in 320. A little bit of primer over there. That's just a little bit of aerosol primer, and then we've sort of stoppered up the majority of the chips with a little bit of fine filler, a little bit of dolphin glaze. So yeah, I'm going to wet and wet this bumper. Just do it with white wet and wet, so Mipa 4+1, but the wet and wet mixing ratio. And I'm going to do this in Mipa OC, so they're direct gloss. The colour's ibis white. It's really good match in direct gloss. I've done it a few times now and I've got some, and we've checked it and it looks good. So yeah, I'm going to do it in Mipa OC, direct gloss. There's a few variations with the Mipa OC. You can change hardness, so you can put the HS hardener in it, which goes in all, you know, the HS clear coats. That gives you the best gloss and the best build, but it can be a bit finicky applying it. It's OC stands for one coat, so really it's supposed to go on in one coat. I do it in 2 coats, but it can be quite a lot of build on there, and it can be quite orange peely. So I over thin it. It says 5% thinners. I put 15% thinners and treat it like a 2-coat system. Seems to go on a lot better. Can get a nice finish, but you obviously with the extra thinners, got to be super careful with it running. It is quite easy to run. Or you can put an MS hardener in it, which it lays down a bit flatter, doesn't give you as good a gloss with the MS in there, and doesn't polish very well neither with the MS hardener in there. And also you can have that, you know, it's a binder system. You can have it mixed with an MS binder instead of the OC binder, and there's like a PUR binder as well, which is more for your like commercial industrial type paint. So there's lots of options with it. I use it obviously because I'm on Mipa anyway, and I've got colour references then with colour chips and stuff on the system, so it all ties in. There are some, I would probably say there's some easier to use direct glosses out there, but I've played about with it and I can get good results with it. I think it's a definite to put the HS hardener in it without a doubt, because the gloss is really good. You get really good gloss off of it with the HS. Like I say, the MS hardener can sort of dull it off a little bit and shrink the finish, but it does go on. It is easier to apply with that on. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, like I say, I was going to wet and wet first. Guns I'll be using for this. A little bit of a change actually on the guns, so you might be pleased to hear this, some of you regular viewers. So the wet and wet's going to go on with my Satajet 1500B, and that's got a 1.4, that's an RP. And the direct gloss is going to go on with a gun I don't really use it a lot. I don't even know if I've used it on the channel yet. It's an older gun, so it's a Satajet 4000B limited edition. I do love this gun. I love the styling on it. And that's an RP, and it's got a 1.2 setup on that, so I use that for direct gloss most of the time. Works really well, and like I say, I have to manipulate it with thinners, and I also warm it up a little bit as well, to get it to lay flat and not so orange peely, so it doesn't sort of overload neither. It flows out a bit nicer, but it works. It took me a while to get used to messing about with it really. But now I'm sort of there with it, and I can get good gloss with the HS hardener in there, and I can get a fairly reasonable finish with it as well. So yeah, that's it. I've already got this colour pre-mixed in OC, so I'll mix up some wet and wet, get that on there, let that cure off a little bit, 10 minutes, and then get 2 coats of the OC on there. So yeah, I put the wet and wet on. I I turn the pressure up to about 2.1 bar, and then full fan, full fluid. And same with the OC, I go 2.1 bar, try and atomize it a little bit finer. And yeah, same again, full fan. And I do wind the fluid in on this. I always start from where I feel resistance on the trigger and half a turn in from there. So that's it, yeah. Get it all degreased and blown off and tacked off, and we get some paint on it. Oh, we've got a couple of special guests in as well. Say hello. This is Jesse. And this is Malcolm.
Alright, you tubes, sit yourselves down and strap yourselves in, because you're in for a hell of a ride.
Sorry about that. Just experimenting with my new microphone. That won't happen again. Right, so here we go. Another voiceover on this one. So yeah, just giving it a degrease now. So yeah, I asked that out there which way round some of you do, because I just used to solvent degrease. I never used to water-based degrease, not until the last couple of years, I suppose. Since I've had Mipa, actually. I used to have water-based degreaser, but I just used to use solvent degreaser. So yeah, I wasn't sure which way round was the best way to do it, to be honest with you. Whether to do the water, always used to water degrease stuff before I masked it, and then I'd mask it, and then I'd solvent degrease it. But now I do both of them, and I was doing solvent and then water second. And I was having a couple of, on water-based jobs, I was having a couple of issues with it. Looked like silicone marks in the first coat of base coat. But yeah, a few people have commented back saying they do water and then solvent. So yeah, I've been doing that. And I sort of blow it with the microfibers. I think they've definitely made a difference to my jobs. Doing both the degreasing, water and solvent, and then blowing with the microfiber cloth at the end to get any residue that may have gone into gaps from the degreaser, and I think it helps with cleanliness. So yeah, I'm just going to mix the wet and wet now. So it's Mipa 4+1, like I've said before, which is their multi-use primer, so for high build, spray filler ratio, and wet on wet, and a compact filler as well. You can do all of those, and the wet and wet's okay. It's really fast drying. Regardless of temperature, it recommends to use the H5 hardener in it, which is the extra fast hardener, and the VR thinner it recommends to use as well, which is like a rapid thinner that can go in most of the 2K products that Mipa do. You can replace a thinner with VR thinner. I haven't tried it in top coats, to be honest with you. I haven't tried it in clear coat. It doesn't say anything on the data sheets about using it, but it says on the data sheet for the VR thinner that it will go in all their 2K products. So yeah, I do everything off the computer, all my mixing. I don't do anything off the measurements on the cups. I don't do any of it by volume. I do it all by weight, everything. All my primers, base coat, clear coat, everything. I do it all off of there. And then if I need to manipulate, I've sort of got a reference of what I've changed. Like with this OC, I over thin it, so I can sort of keep a reference of what percentages I've over thinned until I get products where I need them to be. So I don't over thin the wet on wet, not on the 4+1. On the F37 I over thin it a little bit. Again, when I got this system in, playing about with it, I was getting a little bit of dieback off of the F37. It is a bit slower drying than the Mipa 4+1 is a wet on wet. It is a better wet on wet because it will grip. The F37 will grip to panels if they're not keyed. If it's got the proper factory electrocoat on there, it will grip to panels as well. So it is a better wet on wet. But for stuff like this where it's all prepped and keyed, and I want white on this, so I want a white undercoat. The F37 they don't do in a white, they just do a light grey and dark grey. So whenever I do anything that's white, especially if it's white base coat, I use Mipa 4+1. So yeah, that's it, all tacked off, blown off and tacked off, and yeah, just put one wet coat on. You can sort of put a half coat on, then a wet one. If this had sort of loads of breakthroughs, if it was, you know, a bumper that maybe sanded in 320, and you had a few breakthroughs, I would probably put a half coat on there, just so any edges, you know, if you put a wet coat on there on the first coat, it can ring up around anything that's like feathered out and sanded through. So that's the only time I'd probably put a half coat on first, and then go on, give that a couple of minutes, and then go on with a wet one. So yeah, goes on fairly smooth, dries out fairly smooth, and it does dry out really quick. There's probably not as long a window for your paint to grip to it with the with the Mipa 4+1. Got a bit of a shorter window. I think the F37 you got a couple of hours before you may have adhesion problems with your top coat going on there. But you can tell the F37 wet on wet is a better quality product. Most of you probably know that when you use like a high build primer that has a wet and wet mixing ratio, it's never as good. But yeah, bit of a pain here. I've been really scrupulous and been really tight with materials, and I ran out of wet and wet just on that last corner, which was a pain. So I had to quickly go and mix a bit more, but quite fortunate with that Audi bumper where you've got the two corners, and then you've got the centres, just a thin little strip at the bottom. So I just obviously applied wet and wet to that corner that I didn't get any on, and I just put another coat over that, just to so I didn't have any sort of gravelly overspray edge. Just let it flick into that little bottom piece there. But yeah, I've been really trying lately to not waste any paint or materials. We've been using stuff up because I just end up accumulating materials that I may not like, and yeah, I've been really tight. I've been picking bits of sandpaper up off the floor and all sorts of Reese drops bits on the floor, and I look at them and I think I'll get another job out of that. So yeah, I've been tightening up the belt lately, but yeah, sometimes it catches you out. Trying to be more precise with your mixing, it can catch you out sometimes and you run out. But yeah, I definitely have been not wasting so much paint lately, which is a good thing. So yeah, I'm just mixing the OC now. Again, I do it off the computer, just 2 to 1 and 5% it gives you on the computer. It's 0 to 5%, you can adjust the bar to suit that. So I do it as it says. I meet all the required amounts that it says on the computer, and then so like on this for the thinner now, so it went to 0, so I doubled that, so it was 13 grams of thinner, it went to 0, and then I put another 13 on top of that, and then I come out the system, 0 the scales, and I put another 6 in, so it was about 12% on this. But yeah, I normally do 12 to 15%. I may go a little bit lower. I'm always experimenting, and obviously temperatures change as well. So yeah, that's how I know that I'm putting 15% thinners in that OC. And yeah, I think sometimes on the data sheets they've just got tick boxes on the data sheets for environmental, reasons. For certain products with the VOC content, they will only recommend a certain amount of thinners, but I think in reality sometimes, especially with all the high solids and the one coat application stuff, it's yeah, I think a lot of times it's just ticking boxes on them data sheets, but when you put the products on, with what they recommend, you're not getting the desired result, so you do have to play with it a little bit. I've used a few high solid 2Ks, and Octral and yeah, Standox, and they all go on pretty similar. They're really easy to overload, and they're really easy to get an orange peely finish. The MS stuff goes on like glass, you know, but then it don't cover. They want you to get it all on in one and a half coats, really. That's for environmental reasons, that's why, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, well, I haven't used this gun for a while. The digital gauge wasn't working. That happens to me, so I take it out, give it a little magic rub with my fingers, and then it comes back to life. But yeah, it's due a new battery, I think, that gun. So yeah, so I turn the pressure up on this, so I wind the fluid in half a turn, and I put the pressure up to like 2.1, 2.2 bar, just to try and atomize it again a little bit finer. This stuff covers so well, and it would cover in one coat. And then first coat, I have to be quite quick with this Mipa OC. I don't put a real heavy coat on for the first coat, because you're going to pretty much get coverage anyway with that first coat. I don't want to put too much on there, because you'll start getting little dribbles and little, you know, built up edges and stuff like that. So I put a wet, you know, a decent, it's not dry coat on there, but it's not like a full wet coat for the first coat. Yeah, get that first coat on there, give it probably a good 10 minutes to tack off a little bit, and then put the second one on. So yeah, I use a HS25 hardener this time of year. The hardeners with Mipa, they're more specific for what the ambient temperature is outside, more than speed of drying. I find the HS10 hardener in the summer months, when it's sort of 20 odd degrees out, it just doesn't go on as nice. HS25 goes on a lot nicer this time of year, and it dries out no problem with HS25. The 2Ks they're not like fast curing like some of the fast cure clear coats. I haven't seen anything that advertises like a fast cure 2K direct gloss. They always stay a little bit sticky and a bit rubbery even after a 30-minute bake at 60, but the following day is pretty hard. And yeah, like I said, with a multiple choice of hardness on this 2K, the HS25 gives the best gloss without a doubt, and it flat and polishes lovely as well. With the MS hardener in there, the finish, yeah, it goes on flatter, but the finish dulls to me. It dies off. I've tried it a few times with the MS hardener, doesn't seem to cover, and it does dry quicker, but it is a pain to polish. You can do a few nibs and flat and polish it, and it looks okay. You go back to it, and you can see a little, you know, even 3,000 scratches you can see in it. So that's what I find, you know, best for cars anyway, with the HS in. You know, I've done this in 2K. These Audis in this Ibis White, the cars are in 2K. I don't know. I've done an Audi A7 on the channel, a door repair and quarter panel, and I painted that in this, and it looked okay, and it matched the factory orange peel okay. You do have to be careful, like I say, you can overload it, but the cars are done in direct gloss. I've come across it a few times with the Audis. I've even done them in base coat before, in water base and clear coat, and the colour weren't right, and when you sand it, it all comes off white and chalky. So yeah, I think there's the odd manufacturer that do some straight colours, and they're done in direct gloss from factory. Years ago, like loads of them used to be done like that, but there are still some out there. This Ibis White on Audis is definitely 2K direct gloss from factory, and I've come across others that have been like it as well. But it is always a nicer job base coat and clear, I find. Solid colour or metallic is always a nicer job with clear coat on there, I find. But so yeah, that's it going on now. put it on there quite fast. I am a bit cautious with it. I do go back over, maybe a bit cautious with it, and then if I see any little dry spots where I've over thinned it, I'm always a little bit cautious of it running like around the sensor holes and running on edges on bumpers. So yeah, I do be a bit careful, and then if I do see any spots I've missed, I'll go over it. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you enjoyed the voiceover, and really appreciate it, everyone watching. I haven't got any footage of the car finished. It was all a bit of a rush to get it fitted up, and I forgot to do the outro. So yeah, no fitting up and no final look, but it was all fine, colour looked fine, and yeah, there's the end results. Well, again, thanks again for watching, really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. We'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.